Hi, how are you? I believe you are all very excited as you already have your first training with you. The material, the slides, and you're ready to go out there and deliver it. Just before you do that, let us discuss few points that are necessary before you deliver and while you're delivering your training to make it an effective one. So let's get into it. Today's acronym is CBRAF. It is spelled SIEBRAF. CBRAF. If you follow CBRAF, you will not miss any point to make your training effective one while you're getting ready to deliver it. Without further ado, let's get into it and take our first topic for the day, which is S, which is setup of your training room. Make sure before you deliver training, a day or 2 days before, you finalize where are you going to deliver training. You might be very lucky if your organization has a dedicated training room with all the facilities already available there. Many organizations will not have a ready training room available. Hence, you would be asked to book a boardroom or a meeting room. There are few things before the training you need to look in any of the boardrooms or meeting rooms, or if you have a training room. First thing first, you need to check if the training room supports audio visual. Do they have a projector or a television? Do they have HDMI cable to connect to your laptop, or they have a VGA cable? Make sure all the audio visual equipments are available and ready on the day of training. If the size of the class is bigger, you might need a microphone. Make sure on the day of training you check the microphone and it's working beforehand. Next, you might need some flip charts. In case you want to set the expectations from the training by the colleagues, you might need a flip charts so that they can put their expectation and you can paste them around. This usually works better if your training is for 1 or 2 or 3 days, so that there is a continuity in motivation and the aim of the colleagues is repeatedly being enforced while they look at these flip charts. If you would like to explain something to your colleagues, try and avoid flip charts and use whiteboard with a temporary marker. Explain everything and just clean it up later. This will save you a lot of money. Last but not the least, the setup of the training room for seating of your participants is very simple. Matrix. If you have less than 15 participants, you might want to have a U-shaped classroom, or you might go for a classroom setup or a theater style setup. If you have more than 15 participants, you might want to go for a round table setup. Now, if you don't have round table, don't worry. You can just keep the chairs in a circle so that they all sit in pods, and then you have opportunity to have an activity between them. So I hope the setup of the training room is clear and you will check everything before you will deliver your next training. Next up is I. I stands for Icebreaker. You must always start your training with the icebreaker. Remember your own colleagues. They're coming from different departments, from different type of work. They do know each other, but they haven't met each other or interacted with each other in a long time. You don't want a training session where people will be less interactive. Select a bang-on icebreaker activity which is somehow connected to the topic of the day. Don't worry. If you're not able to find anything related to your topic, just use something. Improvise and do some kind of game. You must do an icebreaker. Few things about the icebreaker. It should be simple. Take your time and give all the instructions about it in advance. And once the participants are performing an icebreaker, you're observing and assessing and guiding them. An icebreaker ideally should not exceed 10 minutes. Once the icebreaker is finished, please bring all the participants back in your classroom, or if they are already there, ask them to settle down and debrief it. This will help you to set the tone for the training, and people will be loosened up a little bit. That's your icebreaker. Next up is E. E here stands for encouragement. You will be delivering your training. You have your material, you have your tutor guide, you have a set of mind that what you need to cover. You are in the flow. You're unstoppable. Your mission is to go from point A to point B. However, your participants have a different way of learning, different pace of learning, and different method of understanding. It's very important as a trainer, and the whole idea behind any training is that the participant should understand what are we trying to tell them. Encouraging the participant to ask questions to you will help you with two things. One, you will understand what your participants are learning and how fast are they catching up with you. Second, your sessions will not be boring and will be super interactive. Usually, we ask this question in a passive way. We encourage participants by asking, do you have any questions? Where usually the answer is no. The active question to encourage your participants is, what questions do you have? It's just rephrasing the sentence, but it becomes active. It seems like you as a trainer are interested in your participants asking you questions. If your participants are not asking any questions at all, you can go ahead and make it a mandatory thing that after every slide, they need to ask one question. Or in the end of the session, they must ask you two questions. This will make your learning active rather than passive. That was E, which was encouraging your participant to ask questions. Next up is B. B here stands for breaks. One of the most likable part of training by the participants is the break. If your training is boring, especially your participants will look forward for the break. But if it is interesting, they might ask you to continue and not give them a break. But not giving a break is not a good solution. No matter how interesting your training is, no matter how hilarious it is going, and no matter how engaged the participants are, you must give breaks. Giving breaks is again very simple. You need to plan in advance. If your session is small, like an hour session, maybe you can give one break of 5 to 10 minutes. If your session is 3-hour session, you need to give 2 breaks. Or split the breaks into 3, 5 to 7 minutes each. If your session is 8-hour session, like an orientation or train the trainer session or leadership, you need to plan in advance to make sure every hour or hour and a half you have a 5 to 10 minutes break, and during the lunch break you have an hour-long break. How can you use these breaks effectively for yourself as a trainer? These breaks should be helping you as well as the participants. Hence, before going for the training, make sure you have optimum breaks. Not too many, not too short. Next, there is a little trick that I also learned recently. Is that while giving the break, ask the participants to come back to the classroom on an odd timing. Don't give straightforward timing. Come back at 11:30 or 12:15 or 12:30. Give them odd timings. Come back at 10:43. Come back at 11:53. This is just an odd number which sticks better in the brain of the participant. Next, use these break timings as a trainer to mingle with your participants. Not all your participants are too interactive or too extrovert. Some of them will feel shy to post a question into you in front of all the group. If you have already identified the shy participant, go ahead and during the break, if he or she is around, spend some time with this participant. Try to open them up. See if they can ask you some question on one-to-one basis. This will create a great rapport between you and your participant. Last but not the least, if you decide to take your break, make sure you are well ahead of the ending time. Nothing could be more embarrassing if all the participants are there and you are the one who's late. So use your break effectively.